Emily had never been to a ranch before. The city had always been her home, a place of tall buildings, honking cars, and bright lights that never seemed to sleep. But now she was standing at the edge of a wide open field, stretching endlessly under a sky that felt larger than anything she had ever seen. The sun was warm, not harsh like in the city streets, and the smell of fresh earth and hay filled her nose in a way that was almost dizzying. She had come here for a story, something different from the usual city life she wrote about. She wanted to feel life slower, grounded, and real, and a ranch seemed like the perfect place for that. The first thing Emily noticed was how quiet it was. Not silent, but a gentle, living quiet. Birds sang softly from the fences. The distant sound of a creek bubbled somewhere behind a line of trees, and the occasional rustle of a horse's tail against its stall reminded her she wasn't alone. She could feel the difference immediately. Here there was room to breathe, room to think, room to feel. It was refreshing and intimidating at the same time. A figure emerged from behind a wooden barn. He was tall, wearing a faded plaid shirt tucked into worn jeans and a hat that shaded most of his face. But Emily could see the faint lines around his eyes, a hint of experience, wisdom, and patience. This was Jake, the ranch owner. His boots crunched softly on the gravel path as he approached, carrying a small bucket of feed. When he reached Emily, he stopped, nodded, and gave a polite but curious smile. "You must be Emily," he said, his voice calm and steady. "I hear you're staying for a few days to write about the ranch." Emily nodded eagerly, trying to hide her nervousness. "Yes, I am. I've never really been around horses or farms much, so I hope I don't make a mess of things." She laughed softly, embarrassed by how little she knew. Jake smiled, a faint crease forming across his face. "Don't worry. You'll learn. Just take it slow and watch carefully. There's no rush here." Even though his words were simple, they carried a kind of quiet authority that made Emily feel both comforted and nervous. She realized quickly that ranch life was going to be very different from the fast-paced world she was used to. Every movement here mattered, every action had a purpose, and there was a rhythm to everything that she had never noticed in her city life. As they walked toward the stable, Emily took in every detail. The horses stood patiently in their stalls, noses poking through wooden slats, tails flicking lazily. Their coats were shiny, healthy, and smooth. She could see the care that had gone into feeding them, brushing them, and keeping them happy. There was a beauty in this simplicity, a raw honesty that she hadn't felt in years. Jake stopped in front of a tall chestnut horse with a white streak down its nose. "This is Bella," he said. "She's calm, but she's strong. You'll be riding her later if you're ready." Emily felt a thrill run through her. She had ridden horses once or twice in childhood, but never like this. Never on a real ranch with real responsibility. Her hands tingled with anticipation and a touch of fear. She nodded eagerly, though her stomach twisted nervously. Over the next hour, Jake showed her around. He explained the chores, feeding the horses, cleaning the stalls, checking fences, and making sure the animals were healthy. Emily listened carefully, trying to memorize every detail. She watched as he worked, noting the way his hands moved, and precise, confident, gentle. There was a harmony in how he treated the animals, a respect that went beyond mere ownership. She began to understand that ranch life was not just work. It was a conversation with nature, a way of living that required patience, understanding, and care. When it was time to feed the horses, Emily tried to mimic Jake's movements, carefully pouring feed into each trough. Some horses nudged her hand, sniffed curiously, and even nudged her shoulder gently. She laughed, startled at first, then relaxed as Jake watched silently, only offering a small nod of approval. She felt a growing sense of connection with the animals, as if they sensed her eagerness to do things right. Later, they walked to the pasture where the horses grazed. Emily's eyes widened as she saw the expanse of land, the rolling hills, and the distant mountains touching the horizon. Everything seemed bigger here, older, more permanent than the buildings she was used to in the city. She felt a strange mixture of awe and humility. Here life moved at its own pace. Nothing could be rushed. "Do you want to try riding today?" Jake asked, breaking her thoughts. Emily's heart skipped. I think so. I'd love to." He raised an eyebrow, smiling faintly. "Okay, but remember, it's not about going fast. Horses can feel what you feel. If you're nervous, they'll sense it. Be gentle. Move with them, not against them." Emily nodded solemnly. She could sense the weight behind his words. This wasn't just about riding a horse. It was about learning to trust, to be patient, and to understand something beyond herself. As they approached Bella, Emily noticed the horse's calm eyes studying her, as if assessing her readiness. Her hand shook slightly as she reached for the reins. Jake guided her patiently, showing her how to mount carefully. The horse shifted beneath her feet, large and powerful, and Emily's pulse quickened. She felt small and inexperienced, but also exhilarated. "Easy," Jake said softly. "Take your time." Emily climbed slowly, settling into the saddle with Jake steadying the horse. The moment she sat upright, a new perspective opened before her. The ground seemed farther away. The wind brushed against her face, and the vast landscape stretched endlessly. She took a deep breath, feeling both nervous and alive. "Ready?" Jake asked. Emily nodded, gripping the reins tightly. "Yes, I think so." As they moved forward, Emily's excitement began to mix with anxiety. She felt the horse's muscles tense under her, felt the rhythm of each step, and for the first time she understood what Jake meant. The horse could sense her heartbeat, her fear, her hesitation. She had to slow herself down, breathe, and let the horse guide her. And in that moment, as the sun shone warmly on her face and the wind played through her hair, Emily realized something important. This ranch, this life was teaching her more than she had expected. It wasn't just about writing a story for her readers. It was about learning patience, respect, and connection. It was about finding beauty in the slow, careful moments that city life often overlooked. She looked over at Jake, who was walking beside the horse, calm and steady, and felt a flicker of admiration and trust. She was ready to learn, ready to experience life in a way she had never known before, and somehow in that quiet, sunlit field, she knew that this visit to the ranch would change her forever. Emily felt a mixture of excitement and nerves as she prepared to ride Bella for the first time. The chestnut horse stood calmly, her soft brown eyes watching Emily with quiet curiosity. The sun was higher now, casting a warm glow across the pasture. Everything seemed alive. The gentle sway of the tall grass, the distant hum of insects, and the faint scent of hay and earth mingling with the morning air. Emily took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. Her hands trembled slightly as she reached for the reins, her fingers brushing the horse's soft mane. Jake stood beside her, his hand steadying the horse. "Take your time," he said calmly. "Remember, it's not about rushing. Let Bella feel your rhythm." Emily nodded, though her heart raced. She had never felt this close to a horse before. So large, so powerful, yet so aware of her presence. She adjusted the saddle slightly and climbed up, feeling the height make her knees quiver. Bella shifted her weight as if testing the new rider, and Emily felt the first jolt of fear. "Easy," Jake reminded her, "one step at a time." Emily wrapped her legs gently around Bella's sides, gripping the reins a little too tightly. I think I'm ready," she said, her voice a mix of determination and uncertainty. Jake gave a small nod, his eyes calm and reassuring. "Good, just follow her lead. Move with her, not against her." At first, Bella walked slowly, the soft thud of her hooves against the ground echoing in the quiet morning. Emily's body tensed as the horse moved, her grip tightening. She felt unsteady, her mind racing with thoughts of falling or losing control, but Jake's calm presence beside her reminded her to breathe. Slowly she exhaled and tried to let go of her fear. "Good. That's it," Jake said encouragingly. "You're doing fine." Encouraged, Emily relaxed a little. Bella's movements felt smoother now, almost like dancing. Emily tried to match her steps, leaning slightly with each motion, letting the rhythm guide her. A strange sense of connection began to form. She could feel the horse responding to her energy, and she realized that fear only made the ride harder. Suddenly, Bella picked up speed, moving into a gentle trot. Emily's eyes widened. Her stomach flipped and a nervous laugh escaped her lips. Oh no. "Be gentle, it's too fast," she cried out. Jake immediately adjusted, walking closer to the horse. Easy, he said softly. "Slow down, Bella, take it easy," Bella responded, gradually slowing her pace. Emily's hands shook as she held the reins, but her heart was pounding with excitement rather than fear now. She looked at Jake, who walked beside her, calm and steady, his eyes watching every movement. There was a quiet strength in him that made her feel safe, even when she had been terrified just moments ago. "You're doing really well," Jake said. Just trust yourself. Trust Bella. She knows what she's doing." Emily took a deep breath, feeling a strange warmth spread through her chest. The fear was still there, but it was accompanied by something else. Trust, excitement, and a sense of accomplishment. She guided Bella gently around the pasture, matching the horse's rhythm, feeling a connection that she hadn't expected. It was as if they were communicating silently, understanding each other without words. As they rode, Emily noticed the details around her more than ever. The soft rustle of leaves in the breeze, the distant mountains framed by the golden sunlight, and the gentle movement of other horses grazing nearby. Everything felt sharper, more alive. She realized that this wasn't just a lesson in riding. It was a lesson in slowing down, noticing and connecting with the world around her. Bella moved with grace, each step measured and deliberate. Emily felt herself becoming more confident, leaning into the horse's movements rather than resisting them. Jake continued to walk beside her, offering guidance only when necessary. His calm voice was like a steady anchor, keeping her grounded as she navigated the new experience. After a few more laps around the pasture, Emily began to feel a rhythm. The fear that had gripped her at first was replaced by exhilaration. She laughed softly, the sound mixing with the soft clopping of Bella's hooves. For the first time, she understood what people meant when they said riding a horse could feel freeing. It was a partnership, a dance between rider and animal, requiring patience, respect, and trust. Jake finally nodded. "You're ready to try a little more if you want. But remember, always gentle, always steady." Emily swallowed, feeling a mix of nervousness and excitement. She nodded and encouraged Bella to pick up a slightly faster pace. This time she felt the horse's strength beneath her, but she moved with it, not against it. The wind rushed past her face, the sun warmed her skin, and she laughed again, louder this time, feeling a thrill she had never experienced in the city. For several minutes, she rode around the field, growing more confident with every step. She felt Bella respond to her energy, slowing when she needed calm, speeding slightly when she felt brave. It was a dance, a connection, a lesson that went far beyond the mechanics of riding. She was learning about patience, trust, and courage, lessons that she would carry with her far beyond the ranch. After a while, Bella slowed back to a walk. Emily patted her neck gently, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. "Thank you, girl," she whispered softly. Bella nickered in response, a gentle, reassuring sound. Jake smiled, watching Emily from the side. "See, that wasn't so bad, was it?" Emily shook her head, still catching her breath. "No, it was amazing. Scary at first, but amazing," he nodded. "The important thing is that you didn't rush. You listened. You trusted. That's what makes all the difference." Emily realized he was right. In her city life, everything was fast. Deadlines, traffic, constant noise. Here, she had to slow down, pay attention, and respect the rhythm of life around her. The lesson was simple but profound, and it filled her with a quiet joy that she hadn't felt in years. For the rest of the afternoon, Emily and Jake continued practicing. She learned to guide Bella gently, to sense when the horse needed reassurance and to relax even when her heart raced. Each small success built her confidence, and by the time the sun began to lower in the sky, Emily felt proud of herself in a way she rarely did. As they walked Bella back to the stable, Emily looked at Jake, her eyes shining with gratitude. "Thank you," she said softly, "for being patient. For teaching me." Jake smiled. "You did all the work. I just showed you the way." Emily nodded, feeling a warmth in her chest that had little to do with the sun. The trust and kindness he had shown her, the way he had slowed down when she was scared and encouraged her when she was unsure, had left a mark on her heart. She knew she would never forget this day, the lesson she had learned, or the quiet strength of the rancher who had guided her. As she helped Bella back into her stall and brushed her gently, Emily thought about the words she had spoken earlier, almost in panic. "Be gentle. It's too fast." They had been more than a plea to the horse. They had been a reflection of her own life, a reminder to slow down, to be patient, and to trust herself. And for the first time in a long while, she felt that she was ready to do just that. By the time the chores were finished, the sky was painted with the warm hues of sunset. Emily sat on the fence watching the horses graze peacefully, feeling a calm she hadn't known she could feel. The wind whispered softly through the trees, carrying with it a promise that this was only the beginning of her journey, both on the ranch and within herself. And in that quiet moment, she realized something else. Sometimes, the fastest lessons come when we slow down, listen, and allow someone kind to guide us, just like Jake had done. Emily woke the next morning with a sense of quiet excitement. The experience of her first ride the day before had stayed with her. The exhilaration, the fear, the laughter, and the calm reassurance from Jake. She could still feel Bella's soft mane under her hands and the rhythm of the horse's steps in her chest. But more than that, she felt a new kind of understanding, a sense that the ranch was teaching her something she couldn't have learned anywhere else. The air was crisp as she stepped outside, the small cabin where she was staying. The sun had just begun to rise, painting the sky with streaks of pink and orange. Birds chirped in the distance, and the soft rustling of the trees whispered a gentle greeting. Emily inhaled deeply, filling her lungs with the fresh, earthy scent of the land. There was a peace here that seemed almost magical, something she had never known in the constant rush of the city. Jake was already in the barn, tending to the horses. His movements were calm and deliberate, each task performed with care. Emily watched for a moment, fascinated by the way he handled each animal, how he spoke to them softly and how he seemed to know exactly what each one needed. There was a quiet strength in him, a patience that radiated from every gesture. She realized that his life on the ranch was not just about work. It was about understanding, respect, and connection. "Morning, Emily," Jake said, noticing her at the barn door. "Ready for today?" Emily nodded. "Yes, I think I'm ready to learn more. Yesterday was amazing and scary, but amazing," Jake smiled faintly. "Good, today we'll take it a step further. You're ready to understand more than just riding. You're ready to really feel what it means to live on the ranch." Emily felt a mixture of excitement and curiosity. She followed him as he moved through the barn, explaining the tasks for the day. First came feeding the horses. Emily carefully measured out the grain, her hands steady this time. She felt a growing confidence in her ability to care for the animals. She noticed how each horse had its own personality. Some were gentle and patient, others more energetic and playful. Bella, of course, remained calm and wise, as if she were observing Emily's progress and approving quietly. After feeding, Jake led her to the pasture again. Emily could feel her heart quicken as she approached Bella. Today, she thought, would be about trust. Trust in herself, trust in the horse, and trust in the guidance of Jake. "Before we ride, I want you to try something," Jake said. He handed her a brush. "Groom Bella, take your time. Feel her, understand her. It's not just about the ride. It's about connection." Emily knelt beside Bella, running the brush through her smooth coat. At first she was cautious, unsure how much pressure to apply, afraid of startling the horse. But Bella nuzzled her hand gently, and Emily felt a wave of reassurance. She realized that this small act of care was teaching her as much as riding itself. Patience, gentleness, and observation were just as important as courage and confidence. As she brushed, Emily noticed small details she had missed before: the softness of Bella's mane, the warmth of her body, the subtle shifts in her muscles as she breathed. She began to understand that horses were sensitive creatures, capable of feeling fear, joy, and trust. Every movement Emily made had an effect, and every small gesture of care strengthened the bond between them. When she felt ready, Jake helped her mount Bella once more. "Today I want you to ride not just with skill but with feeling," he said. "Move with her, not against her. Listen to her. Trust yourself and she will trust you." Emily nodded, gripping the reins with a mixture of excitement and respect. Bella's hooves pressed into the soft earth, and Emily felt the familiar rhythm beneath her. But this time there was no panic, no tightness in her hands or shoulders. She allowed herself to move with the horse, to follow her lead rather than trying to control every step. At first, they walked slowly, circling the pasture as Emily focused on breathing, relaxing and feeling Bella beneath her. She noticed how the horse's movements were not just physical but emotional, reflecting confidence, patience, and trust. Emily realized that riding was not about dominating or commanding, but about understanding and cooperation. "Good," Jake said, walking beside them. "Now try a gentle trot." Emily encouraged Bella to pick up the pace slightly. This time, instead of fear, she felt exhilaration. Her hands held the reins lightly. Her legs moved with Bella's rhythm, and she felt an unspoken conversation passing between them. The horse's ears flicked back toward her occasionally as if listening, and Emily responded with gentle guidance. As they trotted, Emily's mind began to wander in the best way, noticing the soft sway of trees, the golden light on the grass, the distant mountains standing tall and still. Everything was more vivid, more alive, more real than she had ever experienced in the city. And she realized that the lesson went beyond riding or the ranch. It was about life itself, moving with patience, observing carefully, and trusting the rhythm around you. Jake occasionally offered guidance, but mostly he allowed Emily to find her own way. He understood that trust could not be forced. Emily began to see that this principle applied not just to riding, but to every part of life, relationships, work, and even herself. Confidence and connection could not be rushed. They had to be nurtured gently and patiently. After several laps, they slowed to a walk again. Emily patted Bella's neck and whispered softly, "You're amazing." Bella nickered and Emily smiled. She felt a warmth that went beyond pride. It was a sense of gratitude, trust, and growing understanding. For the rest of the morning, Emily and Jake continued their lessons. She learned how to guide Bella through simple obstacles, how to sense her moods, and how to respond with patience and gentleness. Every small success deepened her confidence, and she felt a sense of accomplishment that was entirely new. It was not about proving herself, but about learning, observing, and connecting. During a short break, Emily sat on a fence, watching the other horses graze. She reflected on what she had learned so far. Her time in the city had always been about speed, rushing from task to task, chasing deadlines, constantly moving. Here she had learned that slowing down could be powerful. Watching Bella move gracefully, feeling her trust, and understanding Jake's quiet guidance had shown her a new perspective. Life could be lived fully, patiently, and with awareness, and it could be deeply rewarding. Jake joined her on the fence, offering a bottle of water. "You're doing well," he said softly. "I can see that you're starting to understand more than just the riding. You're learning how to feel, to notice, and to trust. That's what matters most." Emily nodded, feeling a lump of gratitude in her throat. "Thank you," she said quietly. "I've never felt this way before." "It's different, but in a good way." Jake smiled faintly. "The ranch teaches many things, but you have to be willing to listen. And you are. That's what makes the difference." After their break, Emily and Jake rode together across a longer stretch of land. This time, Emily was confident enough to guide Bella over gentle inclines and around small obstacles. She felt a sense of accomplishment, but more than that, she felt harmony, with Bella, with Jake, and with the land itself. She understood that every movement, every decision, and every moment required awareness and care. By the time the afternoon sun dipped lower in the sky, Emily felt a deep sense of peace. She had ridden Bella with confidence, cared for her with patience, and learned lessons that went far beyond the pasture. The bond she had formed with the horse, guided by Jake's quiet wisdom, was something she would carry with her forever. As they returned Bella to her stall, Emily ran her hands gently through the horse's mane, whispering a heartfelt "thank you." She looked at Jake, her eyes full of gratitude. "I feel like I understand so much more now. Not just about riding, but life." Jake's calm smile said it all. "That's the point," he said simply. "It's about connection, trust, and patience. Everything else will follow." Emily realized he was right. Her time on the ranch was teaching her lessons she hadn't even known she needed. And as the golden light bathed the pasture in a warm glow, she felt a quiet certainty that this experience, this day, and this connection would change her forever. The next morning, Emily woke with a sense of determination. The past days on the ranch had changed something inside her. She felt more aware, more patient, and more alive than she had in years. The quiet rhythm of the ranch had begun to settle in her mind, replacing the constant rush and noise of the city. Today, she told herself, she wanted to take everything she had learned to the next level. As she stepped outside the cabin, the cool morning air greeted her. The sun was rising slowly, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Birds were singing, and the distant sound of a creek added a gentle melody to the peaceful landscape. Emily took a deep breath, letting the serenity fill her chest. She felt grounded, ready to face the day with focus and care. Jake was already in the barn, feeding the horses. His movements were calm and methodical, each gesture showing experience and respect for the animals. Emily watched him quietly for a moment, admiring how effortlessly he managed every task. She realized that his quiet patience was more than just skill. It was a way of life, a philosophy he lived by every day. "Morning, Emily," Jake said, noticing her. "Ready to ride?" Emily nodded eagerly. "Yes, I think I'm ready to try more today." "Good," Jake replied. "Today we'll focus on applying what you've learned. Patience, trust, and listening. Bella will respond to you, but you have to be aware and gentle." Emily smiled. She felt a mixture of excitement and calm. She had learned so much already, but she knew there was more to discover. She followed Jake to the pasture where Bella was waiting. The chestnut horse lifted her head as Emily approached, her soft brown eyes watching intently. Emily knelt to scratch Bella's neck, whispering softly, "Good morning, girl." Bella nickered, and Emily felt a surge of connection that filled her with warmth. Jake helped her mount, guiding her carefully as she settled into the saddle. Today, Emily noticed something different. She was not afraid. Her hands were steady, her legs firm but gentle against Bella's sides. She felt confident yet humble, aware that this was a partnership, not a command. "Let's start slowly," Jake said. "Walk first. Pay attention to Bella, to the rhythm, and to your own movements." Emily guided Bella forward at a gentle walk. She noticed how her breathing affected the horse, how her posture influenced the rhythm of Bella's steps. She moved with intention, thinking about each action and its effect. It was a new kind of awareness, one that required patience and presence. After a few minutes, Jake suggested a trot. Emily encouraged Bella gently, feeling the familiar thrill of speed. But this time she was prepared. Her hands were relaxed, her legs moved with the horse, and she felt a harmony that had been missing before. Bella responded beautifully, picking up the pace without tension. Emily laughed softly, exhilarated by the ride but fully in control and aware. "You're doing very well," Jake said, walking beside them. "See how she responds to your confidence and calm?" "That's the key," Emily nodded, smiling. She realized he was right. Riding was not about control or force. It was about understanding, patience, and trust. Every movement she made, every gentle command affected Bella's response. She was beginning to understand not just riding, but life itself, how care, attention, and respect could create harmony in any relationship. As the morning progressed, Jake guided Emily through more exercises. They practiced turning, stopping, and walking over small obstacles. Emily focused on being aware of Bella's body language, responding gently and confidently. Each success built her confidence and strengthened the bond between them. Bella seemed to sense Emily's growth, moving with ease and grace, trusting her completely. During a short break, Emily sat on a fence watching the horses graze. She reflected on what she had learned so far. The ranch was teaching her patience, observation, and humility. Every small action mattered, and trust could not be rushed. She thought about her life in the city where everything was fast, demanding, and often impersonal. Here she was learning a new way of living, slower, more thoughtful, and deeply connected. Jake joined her, offering a bottle of water. "You're improving quickly," he said, "not just in riding, but in understanding. You're learning to see, to feel, and to trust. That's rare." Emily smiled, feeling a warmth in her chest. "Thank you. I've never felt this kind of connection before. It's different. But I love it." Jake nodded, his calm expression encouraging. "The ranch teaches many lessons, but only if you're willing to learn. You are." Refreshed from their break, Emily and Jake returned to the pasture. This time, Emily felt confident enough to guide Bella through a small course Jake had set up. There were gentle inclines, soft dips, and small obstacles that required careful attention. Emily focused, moving with Bella, feeling the horse's strength and responsiveness beneath her. She guided Bella over each challenge with patience, adjusting her movements to match the horse's rhythm. By the time they finished the course, Emily felt a deep sense of accomplishment. She had not only navigated the obstacles, but had done so with harmony and grace. She realized that this was the culmination of everything she had learned: patience, trust, awareness, and gentle guidance. She patted Bella's neck, whispering, "Good job, girl. We did it." Bella nickered softly in response, as if sharing the pride and joy of their success. Jake watched with a faint smile. "You're ready for more than just riding," he said. "You're ready to understand life on the ranch, and perhaps life in general. You've learned to slow down, observe, and connect. That's the real lesson." Emily nodded thoughtfully. She understood exactly what he meant. The ranch was not just a place to ride horses. It was a place to learn, to grow, and to see the world differently. She felt a deep gratitude for the experience, for Jake's guidance, and for the patient strength of Bella. As the afternoon sun began to lower in the sky, Emily and Jake walked Bella back to her stall. Emily brushed her gently, feeling a sense of peace and connection. She looked at Jake, her eyes shining. "I can't believe how much I've learned in just a few days," she said softly. Jake nodded. "It's not about how fast you learn. It's about how well you pay attention, how much you care, and how willing you are to trust. You've done all of that, and it shows." Emily felt a warmth spread through her chest. She realized that the lessons she had learned were more than about writing. They were about life, about patience, trust, connection, and the quiet strength that comes from understanding and care. She knew that these lessons would stay with her long after she left the ranch. As they finished the chores and prepared for the evening, Emily took a moment to sit quietly on the fence, watching the horses graze in the golden light. The land was peaceful, alive, and full of beauty. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for the experience, for Jake, and for the gentle guidance that had helped her grow. For the first time in a long while, Emily felt a sense of clarity and purpose. She understood that life did not have to be rushed or chaotic. With patience, trust, and care, she could navigate any challenge and form meaningful connections with people, animals, and the world around her. And in that quiet moment, Emily realized something else. Sometimes, the greatest lessons come from the simplest experiences, from the quiet guidance of someone who believes in you, and from the gentle rhythm of life itself. The morning Emily was scheduled to leave arrived with an unexpected heaviness in her chest. She had spent several days on the ranch, each day filled with discovery, learning, and quiet moments of connection. What had begun as a story assignment had become something much more profound, a journey into patience, trust, and the beauty of slow, meaningful living. As she stepped outside the cabin, the familiar sense of hay, earth, and sun-warmed grass greeted her like an old friend. Bella grazed in the pasture, her chestnut coat glowing in the early sunlight. Emily's heart warmed at the sight. The horse had become more than an animal to her. She had become a companion, a teacher in her own quiet way. Emily approached slowly, speaking softly. "Good morning, girl. Today's hard, isn't it?" Bella lifted her head and nickered gently as if acknowledging Emily's words. Jake was already in the barn, preparing for the morning chores. He looked up and gave Emily a small nod of greeting. "Morning, Emily," he said in his calm, steady voice. "Ready for your last ride before you go?" Emily nodded, feeling a mix of excitement and sadness. "Yes," she replied softly. She knew this ride would not just be about riding Bella one last time, but about reflecting on everything she had learned. About herself, the ranch, and the simple, meaningful ways of life she had come to understand. They led Bella to the pasture together. Emily brushed her gently, feeling the familiar warmth of the horse's coat beneath her hands. She whispered softly, "Thank you for everything, Bella." The horse responded with a soft nicker, her eyes calm and trusting. Emily smiled through the emotion welling in her chest, feeling a deep sense of connection and gratitude. Jake helped her mount one final time. Emily settled into the saddle with a sense of calm confidence. She could feel the rhythm of Bella beneath her, the familiar strength and grace of the horse moving in harmony with her own heartbeat. This time there was no fear, no hesitation, only trust, patience, and understanding. "Take your time," Jake said. "Enjoy the ride. Remember everything you've learned." Emily guided Bella slowly through the pasture. She noticed the details with clarity, the soft rustle of leaves in the morning breeze, the warm sunlight touching the grass, the distant mountains standing tall and silent. Every step, every movement of the horse reminded her of the lessons she had learned here. Patience, trust, observation, and connection. As they walked, Emily's mind wandered to the first day she had arrived. She remembered the nervousness, the fear, and the exhilaration of her first ride. She recalled the words she had shouted almost in panic. "Be gentle. It's too fast." At the time, it had been about the horse, about her own fear. But now she understood those words had a deeper meaning, a reminder to approach life with care, to slow down, and to trust the rhythm of the world around her. After a while, Jake suggested a gentle trot. Emily encouraged Bella, feeling the familiar thrill of speed but with control and confidence. She moved with the horse, not against her, feeling the harmony of their connection. Each step, Each movement was a reflection of everything she had learned: patience, awareness, and respect. They circled the pasture several times, Emily's heart filled with a mixture of joy and melancholy. She realized how much she had grown in just a few days. She had learned to trust herself, to trust Bella, and to appreciate the quiet lessons of the ranch. She had discovered a rhythm to life that she had never known, a way of moving through the world with care, patience, and connection. As the ride came to an end, Emily guided Bella back to her stall. She dismounted carefully, brushing her gently and speaking softly. "Thank you for trusting me, Bella. I'll never forget you." Bella nickered again, as if acknowledging the farewell. Emily felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes, moved by the depth of her connection with the horse. Jake approached, carrying a small leather bracelet made from a worn rein. "Emily," he said, holding it out, "this is for you, a reminder of your time here and of everything you've learned." Emily took the bracelet, her hands trembling slightly. "Thank you," she said softly. "I'll treasure it always." She looked up at Jake, feeling a wave of gratitude for his guidance, patience, and quiet strength. "You've taught me more than I could have imagined. Not just about riding, but about life." Jake smiled faintly. "You did all the work. I just showed you the way. Remember, the lessons stay with you if you carry them in your heart." Emily nodded, feeling a lump in her throat. She realized he was right. The ranch had taught her patience, trust, awareness, and connection. Jake had shown her, not through lectures but through quiet guidance and example, how to navigate life with care and intention. And Bella had taught her to move with patience, to trust, and to connect. As Emily packed her belongings and prepared to leave, she walked slowly through the pasture one last time. She looked at the rolling hills, the grazing horses, and the wide open sky. She felt a deep sense of peace, gratitude, and understanding. The ranch, Jake and Bella had given her more than a story to write. They had given her lessons she would carry for the rest of her life. When it was time to leave, Emily climbed into her car, the leather bracelet on her wrist as a reminder of the experience. She looked back at the ranch one last time, seeing Jake standing by the barn, Bella grazing calmly nearby. She felt a warmth in her heart, a quiet joy that came from knowing she had been part of something real, meaningful, and transformative. As she drove away, the field stretching out behind her, Emily reflected on everything she had learned. She realized that the greatest lessons often came from simple experiences, from quiet guidance, and from connections built on patience and trust. She thought about the words she had spoken in fear on her first ride. "Be gentle. It's too fast." And she smiled. Life, she now understood, was not meant to be rushed. It was meant to be felt, observed, and experienced with care. By the time the city skyline appeared in the distance, Emily felt a renewed sense of purpose and clarity. She knew that she would carry the lessons of the ranch with her, the patience, the trust, the awareness, and the quiet strength she had discovered within herself. The experience had changed her, and she felt ready to approach life with a new perspective, one that valued connection, care, and intentional living. And as the sun set behind her, casting a golden glow across the road ahead, Emily smiled. She knew that the ranch, Jake, and Bella would always hold a special place in her heart. The warmth of their guidance and the lessons she had learned would stay with her forever, shaping the way she moved through the world and the way she connected with others.